Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome again from the Deanship of the Common Year at Magna University. And welcome again to the English Second Language course, the online version. Again, I am your teacher, Dale Warren, and the language skill I am covering again is speaking. And today we are covering the grammar from Unit 5. Before I go on, I just want to remind all my conversation classes, we are currently doing teaching videos for listening, speaking, reading, and writing, but not for conversation classes. Okay. As previously, we are using the listening and speaking textbook of Q Skills, and it is book 4. So this is the book that you should all be looking at, listening and speaking, book 4. All right. The lesson today is from page 103, and it is on the adjectival degrees of comparison. So, page 103. Now, let us go back to our notes. The lesson is on page 103, and the homework is exercise A on page 104, and the homework must be sent to your normal speaking teacher when you have done it. All you need to do, take a photo of the exercise with your smartphone once you have done the work, and you send the photo to your normal speaking teacher. All right. What we are doing today are degrees of comparison, and they are the degrees of comparison of adjectives and adverbs. Those are the two words which have degrees of comparison. Adjectives and adverbs. Okay, let us quickly discuss the grammar. First of all, we need to understand some terms. The first term I want you all to understand today is the word noun. I'm sure you have all heard that word noun before. A noun is a naming word. It gives us the name of a person, it gives us the name of a place, or it gives us the name of a thing. So Peter and John are nouns because they are the names of people. Tabuk and Kuwait are nouns because they are the names of places. Dog, cat, table, those are all nouns because they are the names of things. Okay, so that is our first note for the grammar. Our second grammar note. An adjective is a describing word. The adjective tells us something about the noun. So if we look at the example, Jalal is a big boy. The word boy is a noun because it is the name of a thing, and the word big is an adjective because it tells us something about the boy. If we look at example 2, the car is red. The word car is a noun because it is the name of a thing, and red is an adjective because red tells us something about the car, which is a noun. Okay, adjectives have 3 degrees of comparison. Those 3 degrees are called the positive degree, the comparative degree, and the superlative degree. The positive degree of the adjective is used like this. Janelle is rich. Rich is the adjective, and it is in the positive degree. If we say the rich man bought a new car, again, rich is the adjective, and again, it is in the positive degree. It doesn't have to be rich. We could say the old man bought a new car, and again, old is in the positive degree. It is the positive degree of the adjective. Now, the positive degree is the first degree of the adjective. It is the simplest, basic form of the adjective. So let us make a note of that. All right. The positive degree of the adjective is the simplest and most basic form of the adjective. It is the form of the adjective that we see most often. So let me give some examples. Old, rich, new, fast, late, easy. All of those are positive degrees of the adjective. The second degree of the adjective is the comparative degree, and the comparative degree is used in front of the word than, and it is used when we compare 2 different people or things. Let's look at the examples. Sally is richer than Janelle. Richer is a comparative form of the adjective. Magda is cleverer than Kate. Cleverer is a comparative form of the adjective. In these cases, the positive degree would be rich, the comparative degree is richer, and for cleverer, the positive degree is clever, and the comparative degree is cleverer. Now, we use the comparative degree of the adjective to make a positive comparison. When we say Magda is cleverer than Kate, we are saying something good about Magda. We are saying something positive about Magda. But we use the word less plus the positive degree of the adjective to make a negative comparison. We say Magda is less clever than Kate. Now we are saying something bad about Magda. So if we want to compare Magda with Kate and we want to say something good about Magda, we use the positive degree by itself. We use the comparative degree by itself. If we want to say something bad about Magda, we use the word less with the positive degree. Okay. Alright, if we want to make a good comparison about Magda, we use the comparative adjective alone. But if we want to make a bad comparison about Magda, we use the word less plus the positive adjective. Okay. Alright, all of these are examples of comparative adjectives. Richer, faster, cleverer, bigger, nicer, happier. They are all comparative adjectives. So when you see something in those forms, they are comparative adjectives. The superlative degree of the adjective, which is the third degree of the adjective, is used to tell us which person or which thing is number one in a group. So, when we use the superlative adjective, we put the word the in front of the superlative adjective, and then we speak about the group that the person is number one in. And when we give that group, we usually introduce it with one of these words, in or at or on or of or from or some similar word. So if we look at an example of how you use the superlative adjective. We will say Sally is the nicest student. Nicest is the superlative degree of the adjective nice. If we are going to say he is nicest, then we will usually put the in front. So we say Sally is the nicest student. But now we don't know where Sally is the nicest student. So we can give the group where he is the nicest student. So we can either say he is the nicest student on the campus. That means of all the students on the campus, Sally is the number one nice student. We can say Sally is the nicest student from Riyadh. So that means of all the students from Riyadh, Sally is the number one nice student. We can say Sally is the nicest student at the university, and that means of all the nice students at the university, Sally is number one, he is the nicest. We can say Sally is the nicest student in the class, and again, that is telling you that in the whole class, he is the number one nice student. So remember, when you are using the superlative, make sure that in front of the superlative, you put that word the, and then you tell us the group. You tell us if it is the group of students in the class, if it is the group of students from Riyadh, if it is the group of students at the university. You have to tell us in which group this person is the number one. To give us some examples of superlative adjective forms. Nicest, cleverest, biggest, best, richest, fastest, prettiest, and so forth. All right. Most of them you will see end in ST. Okay, so that is the superlative form and how we use it. Now, in English, there are certain rules about taking the positive form of the adjective, which remember, I said to you, is the simplest, easiest, most basic form of the adjective, the positive degree, and turning the positive degree into either the comparative degree or the superlative degree. Okay, for an ordinary one-syllable adjective like clean or hard, we add ER to the end to make the comparative degree, and we add EST to the end to make the superlative degree. So if I start with the positive degree clean, it then becomes the comparative degree cleaner because I have added ER at the end, and it becomes the superlative degree cleanest because I have added EST at the end. If I start with the positive degree hard it becomes harder in the comparative degree because I have added ER at the end. And in the superlative degree, it becomes hardest because I have added EST at the end. Now, that is the ordinary one-syllable adjective. If we have short adjectives ending in E, all we do is we add an R to the positive degree to make the comparative degree, and we add an ST to the positive degree to make the superlative degree. So if I start with the adjective nice in the positive degree, and I want to make the comparative degree, all I do is add the R and it becomes nicer. If I want to make it superlative, all I do is add ST and it becomes nicest. If the adjective in the positive degree is brave, all I do is add R and it becomes braver in the comparative degree, or I can add ST and in the superlative degree it becomes bravest. Now, if we have a two-syllable adjective that ends in Y, what we have to do in the comparative degree is to minus the Y and add RER, and in the superlative degree we minus the Y and we add REST. So where in the positive degree it ends with that letter Y, we drop that letter Y in the comparative and in the superlative degrees. So happy drops the Y and we add an RER to make the comparative degree, and it is happier. Happy drops the Y in the superlative degree and we add REST and it becomes happiest. Weary in the positive degree has a Y at the end, but if we have to make the comparative degree, again we drop that Y and we add IER and it becomes wearier. If we have to make the superlative degree, again we drop the Y, we add REST and it becomes weariest. So when it is a two-syllable or three-syllable adjective that ends in Y, you need to drop the Y and to add RE. You need to drop the Y and add RER in the comparative degree, and you need to drop the Y and add REST in the superlative degree. Okay, the next group we have to study is the long adjectives like beautiful or difficult or courageous. These are, in fact, the simplest adjectives to change into the comparative form and the superlative form, because with these adjectives, all you do is you take the positive form and you add the word more in front if you want to make the comparative form, or you add the word most in front if you want to make the superlative form. Alright, so if we start in the positive degree with the adjective beautiful, beautiful is the simple and basic form of the adjective. To put that into the positive, into the comparative degree, all we then have to do is put more in front. So beautiful, the positive degree goes to more beautiful in the comparative degree. And in the superlative degree, we add the word most in front, and it becomes most beautiful. If our adjective in the positive degree is difficult, again, if we must make the comparative form, all we do is we add that word more in front. So it then becomes more difficult in the comparative degree. And if we must then make the superlative degree, all we have to do is add the word most in front, and in the superlative degree, it then becomes most difficult. The last group today are the irregular adjectives. Irregular means they do not follow a pattern. So there is no one rule that you can use for the irregular adjectives. You just have to know them and to remember them. English has 3 irregular adjectives that are used very often, and usually in a test, if we are going to test adjectives, or if we are going to test the irregular adjectives, then you will be asked about these 3. These are 3 very important adjectives. You do need to know them, you do need to memorize them, and you do need to remember them for a test. So the first of those very important irregular adjectives is good. Good is the word that we use in the positive degree, but we do not say gooder in the comparative degree. Instead, we say better. And in the superlative degree, we say best. So remember that adjective. Good in the positive degree, better in the comparative degree, and best in the superlative degree. If we look at the adjective bad, the word in the positive degree is bad. But we do not make the comparative and the superlative degrees by saying badder and baddest. We say bad in the positive degree, but in the comparative degree it is worse, and in the superlative degree it is worst. That is another adjective that you do need to remember and that you do need to know. Those 3 degrees of comparison are very important. The last very common English adjective that is irregular in the degrees of comparison is the word far, and in the comparative degree you can either say farther or more commonly further, and in the superlative degree you can say farthest or furthest. It is not farer or furrer, it is not farer or furthest, it is far, farther, and farthest. Alright, now there are certain adjectives that fall into the first group here, one-syllable adjectives like clean or hard that go to cleaner or hardest, but there is a certain difference, and that is that their final consonant is doubled in the comparative and superlative degrees. So if you have a look here, in the first example, the adjective big, you have the positive degree, and at the end there is one G only. But when we go to the comparative degree and we make big into bigger, there are two G's. When we go to the superlative degree and we make big biggest, again that last consonant has doubled. When we go to the second example, the adjective thin, again in the positive degree it only has one N at the end, but when we make the comparative degree we double that N, and when we make the superlative degree we double the N. Alright, this happens to one-syllable adjectives which end in a vowel and then a consonant. Remember, the vowels are the 5 letters A, E, I, O, and U, and the consonants are the other 21 letters. So if we look at big, it is ending in a vowel, R, and a consonant, G. When we look at thin, it ends in a vowel, R, and a consonant, N. But we can do this with other words such as fat, and it would go to fatter, and it would go to fattest. Again, it is following this pattern that when you have fat, there is a T at the end, which is a consonant, and there is, before that consonant, A, which is a vowel. Remember, with the doubling of the consonants, it only happens if the final consonant is pronounced. We do not double the W in slower and slowest because the W in slow is silent. So the word is pronounced like slow without a W at the end. And if you do not hear that last consonant, it does not get doubled. When we do not hear the last consonant, we do not double. Alright, that basically covers the way in which you make the degrees of comparison for the adjective. Now, the other section that we had to cover today is the adverbial degrees of comparison. Now, before we go through that, I need to know that you understand the grammatical terms. So first of all, a verb is an action word. It is a doing word. So if I say Jalal eats, eats is a verb. If I say Ali talks all day, talks is a verb. All right. So verbs are words that are action words. They are doing words. They tell you what the person or thing is doing. Now, remember that we can also describe verbs in the way we describe nouns. The word that describes a verb is called an adverb. An adverb is a describing word. It tells us something about the verb. It tells us something about the action word. So, if we start off with an example like Jalal eats. Eats is the verb. I then add another word, quickly, and that tells me how Jalal eats. So that is an adverb. If I say Ali talks, talks is the thing Ali is doing. It is the action word. It is the verb. If I then add another word, loudly, loudly tells me how Ali is talking. It is telling me about that verb talks, and so it is the adverb. It is very simple to make the adverbial degrees of comparison. If the adverb is only one syllable long, like quick, then we will simply add ER to make the comparative degree, so it becomes quicker, and we will add EST to make the superlative degree quickest. If we have a longer adverb, like frequently, all we have to do is use those two words, more to make the comparative and most to make the superlative degree. So we will say frequently as the positive degree, more frequently as the comparative degree, and most frequently as the superlative degree. So let's have a look at some examples. Jalal dresses trendily. That is the positive degree. But Anwar dresses more trendily than Jalal. And more trendily is the comparative degree. And Mujib dresses the most trendily of the three. So the most trendily is the superlative degree, and again you will use that word the before you put the superlative degree, and again you will tell us in which group Mujib is the most trendily dressed, and here the group is the three. So the rules on adverbs are very much the same as the rules on adjectives. Now, there are certain irregular adverbs too. So the adverb that well in the positive degree becomes better in the comparative degree and best in the superlative degree. The adverb badly in the positive degree becomes worse in the comparative degree and worst in the superlative degree. The adverb little in the positive degree is little. in the comparative degree is less, and in the superlative degree is least. There are some notes on the adverb that are important. In many cases, the adjective and the adverb look exactly the same. So little can be an adverb or an adjective. Fast can be an adjective or an adverb. Most one-syllable adverbs are exactly the same as the adjective in form. So, all of these words, and there are many others, can be used either as an adverb or as an adjective. Now, there is one thing that you must not do, a very common error, and that is to use good as an adverb. Unfortunately, a lot of people are speaking this dumbed down American version of English that you hear on the net and using good as an adverb. Good is not an adverb under any circumstances whatsoever. It is totally wrong to say, I slept good, I ate good, I ran good, I worked good. What you should say is, I slept well, I ate well, I ran well, I worked well. When you use good as an adverb, that is not correct English. All right, we now have to look at our homework. Let us go to page 104. All right. Our homework exercise today is page 104, exercise A. I hope you're all following in the books. What they are looking at today, they are concentrating on the comparative forms only. So they are wanting us to give the comparative form of the adjective. All right, so if the positive degree is flavorful, that is a long adjective. So if the positive degree is flavorful, that is a long adjective. So you would make the comparative degree by putting in more flavorful. So what I need you to do, work your way down the list. If you are stuck somewhere, all you need to do is go back and have a look at our grammar notes, and you will see that the adjectives and the adverbs change according to certain rules, and so it is very easy for you to work out from those rules what are the comparative forms. Alright, one final note that I need you to notice about adverbs and it's an important point, and you need to remember this when you are doing the exercise. The largest class of English adverbs is the class ending in the suffix ly, and these adverbs are made by adding ly to the adjective. So, if we have a situation where you have an adjective and you need to make an adverb, in many cases in English, the adverb is made simply by adding the suffix ly. So if our adjective is glad or free or happy, trying to think of another one, total, all you do is add ly. So wide goes to widely, free goes to freely, happy goes to happily, and notice please that the first y, the y at the end of happy, drops and it becomes an r, and then you have ily, but the suffix itself still remains ly. If it is total, it goes to totally. So in all these cases, basically you take the adjective and it then adds an ly at the end to make it widely. Now, in all the ly adverbs, in all of those ending in ly, we use more and most to make the comparative and superlative degrees. So it is widely, more widely, most widely. It is happily, more happily, most happily. Okay, so very simple. The largest group of English adverbs are the adverbs that are formed by adding ly to the end of the adjective. And with that group, if you need to make the comparative or the superlative degrees, all you have to do is add those two words, more and most. All right, what I need you guys to do, work through page 104, exercise A. When you have done it, you need to take a photo on your smartphone and send that photo to your English teacher. Thank you very much, and that is the lesson for today.